Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of No Whole Time. We are sticking to this remote recording, which is unfamiliar for us. This will be our second remote recording. Brian is still here, and we have an amazing guest, Annette Franz. Annette, welcome to No Whole Time.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We're really excited to have you. First things first, where in the world are you located today?
Great question. I am based in Orange County, California. Beautiful, sunny, nice and warm today. So, yeah, no complaints.
Nice. We just need to invite someone from the mountain time zone and we'd have all of the US time zones
Oh, there
covered.
you go. Where are you guys?
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I am in Omaha.
Annette, we did some research. We like to learn about what drives our guests outside of work, like why they are who they are. And so did some research. I Googled, I asked Jeeves, I Yahooed, all of the things.
I didn't even know
And
Ask Jeeves was still a thing. Is that still
yeah.
a thing?
There was the cha-cha thing once.
Right?
Did you guys ever do cha-cha? Like you could text whatever spells cha-cha a question and you would get a text back with the answer.
Wow.
I was in high school or like college when that happened. All right. So I, just through the research, I found you're, a customer-centric advocate, and that's clearly why we're coming here today. But outside of that, a writer, a public speaker, math enthusiast, very frequent podcast host. Also found out that when you were young, you wanted to be a veterinarian. You went to Ohio State University. So let's start with that.
All right.
Clearly, you didn't end up a veterinarian.
In some regards, maybe.
But if I assume if you're a veterinarian, either you had a lot of animals or you like lived on a farm somewhere, and that's why you wanted to do that. So tell us more about that.
Absolutely. I grew up on a farm in Ohio, and I love animals. I still love animals, but yeah, obviously I am not a veterinarian, and that was certainly my love back then. And I had this dream, and our local vet was like, "Hey, go to vet school, come back, be a part of my practice, blah blah blah." And it was I'm going to date myself here, but it was the mid 80s, right? And so it was very much still an all boys club, number one. And number two, maybe this should be number one. Number one is it's the same requirements to get from, get into med school as it is to get in vet school. So 6 quarters of chemistry at the time, and chemistry is my kryptonite. It's just my kryptonite. I mean, I graduated from high school as salutatorian, and maybe that little drop from 4.0 to 3.98 was my chem classes. I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a challenge for me. And I knew, at that time you had to pretty much have perfect grades to get into vet school. So after 3 years at Ohio State, I actually moved out here to Southern California and finished at Cal State with a degree in management.
Okay, awesome. What do you have animals now? You said you still love animals. Do you have animals now?
I have one cat, just one cat.
All right.
I've had many over the years, but just one cat right now. But my parents actually just recently sold the farm as well. So can't even say that, there's still that part. Yeah, they're in their 80s. And so it was time for them to, put that dream behind them and move on to somewhere that's a little bit less treacherous for them to get around. So.
Yeah. That's understandable. So back to the writing part, you have a book, Built to Win, and it's centered around these like 10 fundamental principles. And I was hoping you could maybe touch on some of them, all of them. Tell us a little bit about those, because I feel like, that was really big for me whenever I was reading the book. That really caught my attention, and hope you could share with our listeners a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. The 10 principles actually came from all the work that I've done over, I just wrote this or published this book back in 22. And, at that point, I'd already been working in this space for 30 years. And so I started when I was 4, just let's make that clear. So I'm sure you found that in your research when you did that about me too, that I started when I was 4. So.
Child prodigy.
Yeah, exactly. but it did. It came from the 30 years of working with clients, on both, especially on, customer experience and employee experience, and the things that needed to be in place, that foundation that needed to be in place to be successful with any type of strategy when it came to the employee experience and the customer experience. So the first principle is then culture is the foundation, right? I mean, it's a no-brainer. The book is about being customer centric, but in order to be customer centric, that's the culture that you have to build, right? Then the second one is about leadership. Leadership has to be committed and they have to be aligned. So they've got to be committed to the success of the transformation to this culture, type of culture, and then and committed to providing the resources to make that happen. And then aligned across the board, because culture isn't just one department or another, right?
Yeah.
It's the entire organization. And if we don't have every leader across the organization aligned on this type of a culture, it's gonna be fragmented in terms of the experience for both employees and for customers. So that's really important. Another one is about the employees. Employees must come more first. So, we talk a customer centric culture. I mean, you could really call a customer centric culture people centric, right? Because it really is about the people. And so I say employees more first because, and this wasn't my phrase, this was Hal Rosenbluth, who wrote 30 years ago that this
Hmm.
is how it ought to be. Employees first, customers second. But he said, let's just say it's employees more first. And it's, if we don't have employees to, design, build, sell, implement, service, et cetera, then we don't have a need for customers. We don't have a business, right? And so taking care of your employees and making sure they have a great experience really leads to, a great experience for our customers. The next one is customer understanding. It's the cornerstone of customer centricity. That was my first book. My first book was all about customer understanding. And it really is. It's bringing in, and quite honestly, I could have written a partner book that was called Employee Understanding, because it's the same work that we do to understand customers that we do to understand employees and design that experience. And so bringing in the voice of the customer into the organization and using that voice to design our products and design our services and meet their needs, solve problems for them, and meet their expectations is really important. And that is really at the heart of being a customer centric organization. Is you're going to be, and this is another one of the principles, you're going to be outside in, not inside out, right? You're
Yeah.
going to bring that voice in. You're not going to say, I know, or we know what's best for our customers, because we don't. We really don't until we go out and talk to them and really understand, their needs and their problems that they're trying to solve. So I'll go real fast through the next three: people before profits, people before metrics, and people before products. In other words, people come first. And that's why I said,
Yeah.
we could have just called this people centric rather than, customer centric. And then two other ones, governance. Governance is really an important part of getting the entire organization aligned and doing this work. And then the last one is platinum rule. Forget about the golden rule. It's all about the platinum rule, right? It's not about treat customers the way I want to be treated. It's treat customers the way they want to be treated. And so I think that's a really important aspect. I think I covered all 10 there.
Yeah, those are great. Thank you. And look, as you reminded me of them after reading through the book, I see myself in positions in other roles where I didn't feel the company was being
Mhm.
successful, and it's because they were missing some of these things. And I think that oftentimes you find yourself, even if you have a great leader who comes in and wants to set amazing culture and leads by example, but maybe some of their leaders, some of the people that report to them,
Yeah,
don't see the vision, don't implement it. Like,
agreed.
I think everyone's working really hard and we're all working late. Let's make sure that no one sets internal meetings on Friday. And there's that one leader that has a standing Friday morning meeting. Then, like that sets, it's just one small thing. But if they can do that thing that's outside of the example leadership is trying to sell, then what else is going to, and then it just,
It spirals from there.
I found myself as a young professional in situations where I didn't like it, and it's because I could see some of these missing.
Yeah, I think there's an important quote. I forget the guy's name who said it, but you get the culture you design or the one you allow. So even to your point, it's just a Friday meeting, one person. But if you allow that, then it's just, it's kind of that broken windows kind of philosophy, right? If one person does it and it's okay, then others will do it, and then it'll snowball into something else. So absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I say is fix the culture, fix the outcomes. And it's funny, I was listening to the news last night. There's this big thing going on with Boeing, right? And their strike and all of that. Well, apparently the CEO said yesterday, we need to fix the culture. And I just wanted to, I wanted to finish the statement for him when he was talking in his press conference, right? Fix the culture, fix the outcomes. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Annette, thank you. You also have a company called
I do.
CX Journey. How did you found it? Why did you found it? What do you guys do?
So, I started it back in early 2017. I'd already been in this customer experience world for about 25 years. It had been my dream to ultimately do this, to start my own business. And it was just all about timing, right? And again, I live in Orange County, so it's, single mom, Orange County, mortgage, all that kind of fun stuff. So it was really about
Yeah.
timing, and so I would have loved to have started it, 5 years earlier, but it didn't happen. But here we are, and I spend a lot of time coaching and consulting with clients about the things we just talked about, right? From culture all the way through
Hmm.
to the outcomes that they're going to achieve as a result of the work that we do. And I speak and I write, I do content, I do all of those kinds of things. And I think ultimately the catalyst, other than the you know personal things, but the catalyst was that I wanted to go out and do the things that I love to do, right? And just focus on the things that I love to do. And that's what I'm doing. Here I am, 7+ years later, still doing it. So very happy that I did. Best decision ever, for sure.
That's fantastic. So when someone comes to work with you, Annette, and you get a chance to walk in the door,
Yeah.
fresh piece of paper, fresh ideas, is there a common thing you see that's always a problem across a lot of folks looking to help you out, or is there or to use your help?
Yeah, so when I first go in and talk to the executives there, and start working with them, I interview the leadership team, a sampling of the employees, and a sampling of customers, and that just gives me a baseline, because the common theme is that every CEO that I've talked to and have worked with has thought X was the issue, and it was actually A, B, C, D, E, F, G through Z were the issues.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we have this one little problem. Oh, communication, that's our biggest issue. And it's like, yeah, communication is a big issue, but there are so many other things that we need to address. I always tell this story of the company that I worked with, that we had that conversation, and the CEO specifically said communication is our issue. And then after I did the interviews, I said to my contact, I said, hey, do you want me to take him through all 60 pages, all 60 pages, or should I put it down to like an executive summary bullet point kind of thing? He's like, oh, no. I need you to take him through all 60 pages. He needs to realize what is going on here. So, and that's usually what happens and I don't know that there's necessarily common threads from one to another, other than the culture isn't where it should be. And well, these are big ones. Culture isn't where it should be,
Hmm.
and leadership is just all over the place. And it's, I mentioned leadership alignment before, but it's not just alignment around the culture, but alignment around how to run the business. You've got multiple business units or multiple department heads, and these leaders are almost never on the same page with the CEO. There's usually one or two where I go, after
Yeah.
my assessment, I go, you know what, this person is not where you need them to be in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve working with me. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
When you walk out of those places, do they tend to promote or create like CXO or CX organizations, or is it more about just kind of ensuring that they're people first, people centric?
Some of them do. It's still a challenge for others to commit the resources to actually building out this department, but some of them do. And even if they don't, they've assigned people to take on the work that needs to be done, as we move forward, as we work together throughout the engagement. So, and then there are others who just kind of poo-poo it, and we don't go very far after that, because the work has to be done from the inside, right? I can only do so much, so the work has to be done from the inside. So that's an important piece of it.
Yeah, David and I have had the pleasure of talking to several CXOs or fractional CXOs or consultants in that space, and it's a similar story. Like you walk in with this great idea or this framework
Yeah.
of things, and you start to put things in motion, and then someone doesn't want to pay for what it's going to
Yeah.
take to do the right things, and we all know how failure comes
Absolutely.
after that, two pieces down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find it hard to believe that there's still so many executives who don't make that connection. That like if you're frustrating your customers, they're not going to buy. They're not going to stay, And so, I've done over the years done a lot of journey mapping workshops and have had several CEOs sit in on those workshops, and it is just such an eye opener for them because they are so far removed from the customer and the day to day that they don't even think about those things. And in the end, they walk away going, "Yeah, we gotta put some people, resources, whatever, toward this and change it." But it takes that. It ultimately takes that I love the show Undercover Boss because these people never actually, they're just so far removed from what their employees on the ground are doing and what their customers are experiencing that it's eye-opening. Yeah, very eye-opening.
Is that show still on?
I don't know. Probably in reruns, but I don't know.
I think the three of us need to just go get some money and produce that show again. I think we would go make a lot of money. I think that'd be
Right.
David.
Seriously.
That would be sweet.
But you know what? As part of the work that I do, I recommend that CEOs go out or the leadership team goes out and does that. Call it mystery shop. Call your own business. How do they answer the phone? What's the process there? Those kinds of things. So interestingly enough, Home Depot just within the last week came out and said all of their leaders had to work in their stores to I think every month. Once a month, go in the stores and work in the stores to get that kind of experience and get that kind of eye into what's happening on the floor. It's important.
You know what I liked about that show is that oftentimes you would find, right, like the employee who wasn't doing well and affecting culture. But I loved there was always the person who is cared about people and would put other people first. And like I just it made me feel like as a leader, you have to really understand what people are doing to know like how things are going to come together where you can help people be better, or even there are people that can be successful in other roles that maybe are not being successful where they are and it's just not their strength, but they're trying to do their best, right? So I appreciated seeing both ends of that, really hard workers that maybe weren't being successful or hard workers that were definitely helping others prosper.
I always thought Home Depot. It makes sense for Home Depot. The one thing I talk about, people ask me all the time, like company culture, who's good at it, and I realized quickly. Young sales guy walked into Home Depot's offices in Atlanta. We're meeting with VPs. I got a suit on, fresh J.C. Penney suit I could afford at the time, whatever it was. And we go up to the top floor and meeting with XVP and SVP and whatever else. And you know what they do? Wearing their own suit clothes. They walk over and they put their orange cape on and sit in the conference room with us with their orange bibs on. And I go, what? I got to know why. And they're like, this is what we do. We're all tied to the people in the store. We're all the same people. And it blew my mind because I had never seen that before. And I was like, all right, there's something here that
Absolutely.
many
I
don't
love
do.
that. Absolutely.
Brian, I had a similar experience actually. So same thing. I moved from Chicago to Austin for my like first big promotion. Same thing, like wearing a suit, not J.C. Penney, but maybe Bell's or one of those. Uh, Tie, and I walk into it was a major computer company based in Austin or outside of Austin. That'll tell you which one that is. And their like VP of investor relations puts his arm around me. He's like, "Son, you're in Austin. You don't have to wear a
Yep.
suit anymore. It's cool. We do big things. We just don't have to dress like it." I'm like,
I love
okay.
that. That's awesome. That is awesome.
And now, one of the things we ask all of our guests is if they'll share an example of a positive or negative customer experience you've encountered. recently? You have one you could
Yeah,
share with
sadly,
us?
probably like everybody else, I have a bad one. I've had a lot of those lately, sadly. This is one. Can I name the brand? Should I name the brand? Okay.
Sure. As long as it's not mosaics, sure.
No, it's Walmart actually, and it's this whole notion of omnichannel, being able to order groceries on the app, and this has happened frequently, right? Order groceries on the app, great communication, order confirm, make your substitutions, orders on the way, delivery's going to be here. All of
Yeah.
that is great until they get here and they bring me a bag of crappy produce, right? Or whatever it is, right? And I need to return it. And I forget what the last item was. I think it was some lettuce or something. I don't even know. It was like $2 and change, whatever it was. And so I go into the app and you can make a return. And this has happened a few times now. So it's not a one shot thing where it's like, oh, well, maybe that was just whatever. But so selected return. And on the app, it says you need to call to make this return. I'm like, okay, it's $2.30 or whatever it was. Okay. All right, great. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
call. So I call and they tell me that I can return the item. That's fine. But I have to take it back to the store and I won't get my refund until I take it to the store. And I'm like, wait a second. First of all, I ordered it online for you to deliver it to me. Now I need to return it because your driver or your packer or whoever your associate gave me crap produce. Now to get my money back, $2 and change again. Now I need to get in the car and drive to the store and give it to. it's happened multiple times, and sometimes I just go, oh, forget it. I'm just going to throw it in the trash and forget, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's not right. And I've given them feedback
Yeah.
about that, and whatever. But I mean, that's just we as customers expect an easy omnichannel. Amazon's great. I know what I can
Mhm.
do there. That expectation's been set, right? That's always been a great experience on returns. Either throw it in the trash, don't even bring it back, or if it's a product
Mm-hmm.
that's over whatever $10 or whatever it is, they're like, box it up, or don't even box it up, just print the label and go over to the UPS store or whatever other options you have. So, and they even have pickup options too. So they just make it easy. Walmart
Yeah.
is just like, and I think part of it has to do with their drivers I think they're Instacart drivers, so it's not their employees driving. So I get that. I got to tell you, one day they left me a bag of kids' clothes. It was clearly somebody else's order, and it was packed. It was like all size, like 4, 5, 7s, and it was packed with clothes. I called them up and I said, "Hey, your driver left it," because I didn't check all my bags when he dropped it off. Your driver left this. I'm sure the customer who's next in line is going to want these, right? They're like,
Used it.
"No, you can just
Yeah.
donate it. You just give it away." And I'm like, "What? What?" Okay, all right, so very odd in terms of that whole process there. They need to clean that up.
That seems like a Walmart issue. We do a lot of delivery, and our experience has actually been really good.
Oh, good.
And it's always the eggs. It's always a broken egg, and I can just imagine someone getting frustrated that the eggs are broken and they need to
Yeah,
return them, and maybe returns them aggressively because that's what you do with eggs.
right.
I also find it funny or interesting whenever you go in those stores anymore. The majority of the people shopping are the people picking for the delivery.
Right. Yeah.
Like they're huge carts. They're always in the middle of everything, and you're looking around going, "They're a way." They invented a
Right.
job like overnight because of this. And anyway,
Yeah.
I just thought
No,
that was interesting.
absolutely.
And that cost per call to call Walmart probably cost them $3 to just have the
Right.
person take the phone call and tell you to return it to the store. Like that whole net's probably about $50 worth of one head of
And the
lettuce.
people at the store look at you like, why'd you bring this? Why'd you bring this here?
Yeah. And then I've got a couple of questions. I went down an awesomely fun rabbit hole of your blogs this week. I tried to so the recent one, Culture Plan Fun. I'll have you talk about that in a second. But I just have to say this: I tried to find your first blog, and I quickly gave up after 2014. Like, how far back does it go?
2011, actually November of 2011. Yeah.
And that's weekly or like?
Weekly, and I used to write 2 a week, and I gave up on that. Probably, I don't remember if I gave up on 2 a week when I started the business or shortly after I started the business, because I just, but it's once a week. Yeah, it's once a week.
I have to applaud you because I can't find a LinkedIn post once a month sometimes to write. So you're good work on that.
I love it. Thank you. And I write for others too, right? So it's not just once a week. A lot of times it's two or three, other articles that I'm writing for others too. So
That's fantastic.
I love writing.
I'm curious about your recent blog post about the culture plan and
Yeah.
how you've kind of laid it all out. Can you kind of walk us through that topic and
Yeah.
how you got there?
Well, I think it's an important topic because, like I said, when I first go in and start working with a new client, that's where we're going to focus because the culture is the foundation, right? And so I wanted to start to put together like a systematic way. I mean, culture plan is not new; it's not my idea, right? But I wanted to throw out this topic and get people to think about how you design the culture you want differently. It's not just some erratic thing where the CEO says, "Hey guys, tomorrow we're going to be customer centric." Right? There is definitely a focus put on that, and there's very specific things that we need to do to design the culture. That's in the book. It's deliberately design culture. That's the word that I use, deliberately. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, in order to do that, you have to have a plan. You have to know you know what it is you want, why you want it, who's going to be involved, what are our outcomes going to be as a result of this, how are we going to communicate it, how are we going to socialize and operationalize all these things. And so it's just like any other project or initiative or transformation, anything else we do, we have to have a plan in place to do it. So create the plan, implement the plan, and then measure the success of the plan. And I'm actually working on my next post for next week already, and it's about the culture audit because I mentioned a culture audit in the post about how you measure success of a culture plan. So working on that right now, and is taking a deep dive into your culture to identify gaps and where things are going well, and you're aligned with the culture and the core values and the culture that you're ultimately designing. So it's a good topic that I don't see or hear a lot of people talking or writing about. And like I said, I wanted to put together something about a systematic way so that people don't think, oh, culture. I think people already think that culture is like this fuzzy thing, but it's not. It doesn't. Well, it does. You get the one you design or the one you allow, right? So it can happen that way. But I want people to deliberately design that customer-centric culture. And to do that, you've got to have a good plan in place.
I thought it was very good and happy that I could read it for nothing. Like you could sell that stuff and make gold. I think that was very interesting to see that piece.
Yeah. Maybe Built to Win 2.0 might.
Yeah, there you go. The one thing that I found that I really liked as I was digging through those amazing posts, really, really was amazing. I got into like 2015, 2014, and it was like top things to focus on or top trends for 2014 or top things to read for 2015. And I read through them and I'm like, there are still some of those key things 10 years later that we have not even touched on that we've been talking about for years. Now, some of that stuff was kind of, you could see some of the date, like digital first and mobile apps are the way to go and those types of things. But it doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Which one do you think is the biggest? And I have in my mind which one is the biggest one that we've been talking about for 10 years and really still haven't solved for.
I still think it's breaking down silos. I think it's still building a CX practice within someone because, we've talked about it forever. And we said it earlier, I shouldn't say no one. There's still a lot of holdback to putting money into it. How about you?
Omnichannel. We've been talking about omnichannel, I think, for 10 years, right? And I really don't think, not everybody's cracked that nut. Plenty of issues still across the board on that one.
It's still kind of a pipe dream for many, many people because we've talked about it before on this podcast. You still have some companies that are just enormous that don't even have CRM systems because they're so legacied into this department and that department and that department. And you can't be omnichannel without having a centralized place of source of truth. That's awesome.
Exactly. Amen to that. Amen to that. And on that note, we should stop because that was good.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Just
right.
kidding.
Annette, I think we're about to wrap. Where can people find your writings, your blog posts, how to get a hold of you? Where can they find all that?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned LinkedIn. That is a great place to find me. Absolutely. I've met some wonderful people through LinkedIn. And then on my website, cx-journey.com or AnnetteFranz.com. The blogs that you mentioned are on cx-journey.com.
David, I'm going to let you wrap.
No, I started.
All
You
right,
wrap.
fine. Mosaic.com/podcast, YouTube, lots of other places, but that's a good place to start. David and I have lots of episodes. I think we're in we just celebrated our birthday not too long ago, Annette. So we've done a year of this. I haven't gotten any better, but we've done a year of this at this point.
Hey,
So
this was fun. I don't know about that. I haven't watched your first episodes, but this was great. Thank you.
all right. Well, that's appreciated.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Annette. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We will talk to you soon, and go see Annette's stuff. Go read her blogs. It's amazing. There is so much good content out there, especially if you're looking for a place to start with customer and people centricity. It's fantastic. Thank you, Annette. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
See you guys.